Hey, before we get into it, I want to talk about the great tasting, less filling, the beer sponsor of this show. You guys already know it's Miller Lite. Listen, from defending your favorite team after a bad loss, whatever. We're on to positive beers. It's Friday. We're on to Arizona. We're on to just having a good weekend. I'm not thinking about bad losses. Do it obsessively checking your fantasy football lineups. Football fandom is bigger than just Sundays. I love that just saying that took me into a dark place. I didn't want that. Sorry, Miller Lite. But listen, Miller Lite knows the passion that comes from rooting for your team. Like the debate that sparked in 1975, the great taste versus the less filling. So what's the best thing about the original light beer? Let it be both. Miller Lite keeps it simple, undebatable quality, only great taste. Only 96 calories to make your game time taste like Miller time. It tastes great, less filling. Let it be both. Go get Miller Lite delivered right to your door when you visit MillerLite.com/midshow, or you can find it pretty much anywhere that sells beer. Just make sure you celebrate responsibly. Miller Brewing Company, Milwaukee, Wisconsin. 96 calories per 12 ounces, fewer calories and carbs than premium regular beer. First weekend of November. You got to get those Millers cold and ready to go before we fully dive into this whole winter thing. So, yeah, Miller Lite. Fun interview today with Pat Mannelly. Let's toss it over there. All right, so here we are. It's the interview show, the third one. Today I am joined by Patrick Mannelly, former Bear long snapper. Pat, great to have you back on. How are you?
I'm good. How you been, man?
Good. It's still a little bit reeling, but I think I'm finally over last Sunday. The Hail Mary, just a brutal way to lose. And it got me to thinking, when do you think, what's the closest you felt to that when you were with the Bears?
Oh, losing like that?
Yeah.
Shoot. I mean, like one of the most devastating losses I remember is us going to Houston. I think it was 9-09 or something. And we lost the very last game where if we win, we're in the playoffs. Then we had to wait for somebody else to possibly lose, and they didn't. But just that feeling of like you should have won the game and then you lose it. That's one of them. But I'm trying to think of another game like a Hail Mary like that. I can't recall, but I've been lucky to be on two of them where, Mike Brown in the overtimes in 01 where we won it like that, which was we should not have won. So I've been lucky to be on that side. But that's, I think 09, I think it was 09 against the Texans is the only one I can really remember like that.
You bring that up, and that's what stuck out. And I was literally about to say Mike Brown right after you brought him up. Those are games where I'm sick about what happened, but those are games that I remember vividly from my childhood. And
yeah,
there was an eensy weensy tiny part of me that was like, you know what, some Washington kid will never forget that game.
Right.
So
right
good for them.
No, you're right, man, and we won't either. I think this is one. It's like the Arizona game that I got to play in. Bears fans will never forget. And too bad this is the loss, but. There was so much hope going into this game and kind of drama between the two quarterbacks. And then all of a sudden, I mean, your emotions, man, they won, right? They won. Like I was walking out of the room to get ready for the post-game show on the score. And I open up my iPad and I'm watching the final play and I'm like, no way, man. This just changes our entire dynamic, what we're talking about. And you just can't believe it's going to happen. But this is one nobody else, you won't forget it. You won't forget it.
No, that's the worst. You have a good idea of what you're going to, your solid core points are going to be. And then it just flips on a dime.
Yeah. I had all my notes written up. I'm like, hey, look at Caleb coming back in the fourth quarter and doing his thing. And then it becomes a bigger story with Tyrique doing what he did, which is just insane. But yeah, it's a game we won't forget.
What happens? Though. What happens in that locker room? A Lovie Smith locker room. What happens to Tyrique Stevenson if he does that?
He'd get a stern talking to. I think everybody knows Olin Kreutz would give him a stare and maybe a couple words. And then, Urlacher was the other leader, and Urlacher's not a big talker, but I guarantee you he would probably say something to him like, "What the hell are you doing, you idiot? We can't have that." Mm-hmm. Yeah, there would just be a lot of ribbing going on. And it would depend also like what kind of teammate he was. Like if he was a turd, oh shit, he would get hammered, right? But if he's a good teammate and guys loved him, he's going to get more of a look than anything. But I think the leaders like Olin and Lack and those guys probably would have said something to him. But he would have felt like shit. Yeah, he would have felt like shit.
And what would Lovie's be? What would Lovie's demeanor be, do you think? Because it's hard to see him going too high or too low ever.
Right. So what Lovie would do is if you got the call to his office. So he never really did anything in public to us, like, in the media or with the team in meeting rooms, man. You would get a call from his assistant, Susie, and it's like, hey, coach wants to see you. And that was just like, oh, man, what did I do? And then his delivery, man, it would be like your grandfather scolding you, but like real calm. And that demeanor is just eating your soul. And it's no fun, but that's the way he dealt with it. But he was so cool and calm all the time that if he dipped down just a little bit, you knew it was like he meant it, man. I'll give you an example. So I got a personal foul against the Packers. I kicked the guy after a field goal. He pushed me over a pile late. And I kick him in the knee, and next thing you know, there's a scrum, right there. Back then, the 2-yard line for a PAT. And Mike Carey's the referee, comes over to me. He's like, 65, you're out of the game. I'm like, oh shit, I'm out of the game. That's not good. That means the long snapper's gone, and also it's a shit ton of money that's going to be out of my pocket. So I walk over to the sideline, and Lovie's talking to Mike Carey, and he's like, what's going on? He's like, 65's out of the game. He's like, that's our long snapper. He goes, well, you know what? I'll give him a personal foul instead. So Lovie talked me out of about 15, 20 grand. But what he did is he turned around and just looked at me and stared at me. And again, he was like just ate my soul. And I'm like, oh my God, I just let my dad down, my grandfather down, my mom down, my grandmother down. But that's the way he did it. He didn't have to scream or yell or anything, but that's just the way Lovie was. And it hurt more that way, I think, than getting screamed at or scolded, yelled at.
Yeah, it's always the old disappointed. I'm disappointed in you is way worse than the screaming.
Yes, that's the way he looked at you, man. Yeah.
Did he have the office meeting with you after that, or no? That was it.
He did not have to, and actually, I got to talk to him at Devin Hester's Hall of Fame enshrinement. He was there, and I was like, Coach, how come you never called me to the office? He goes, you got what I was saying. You knew what I was saying. And it's just, I was like, yeah, you're right. There were other things I went to his office for, but that's the one where it just kind of ate me, man. And then it was just kind of cool to be able to rehash it with him and him just saying, yeah, you knew how disappointed I was in you. And I'm like, yes, I did, Coach. Yes, I did.
Who was the backup long snapper on that team?
Des Clark.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. I didn't want to, I just got lucky, man. I don't know how he pulled some Jedi mind trick stuff over Mike Carey of not kicking me out of the game. I should have been kicked out of the game. It was bad.
Yeah, I mean, that's a big moment, I feel, if someone points to, there's little funny business going on with the refs and the coach. It's like that's exhibit A.
Yeah. I don't know how he did it, but he did it.
So how often would Des practice with you?
During the off season, quite a bit.
Oh, wow.
But not a lot, but like quite, the coaches would make him do it like twice a week. And then during the season, basically never. I mean, once every 6 games maybe. And then if something happened like it did with Scott Daly and Cole, like the entire league, I guarantee you that week their backup long snapper was getting reps. Yeah. But it didn't happen until somebody else got hurt in the league. And they're like, oh, shit, we forgot. We got to get this guy some reps just in case. But it wasn't a whole lot. But he was good at it, but it's just so different in a game than it is in practice, just the speed and blocking and all that stuff.
Totally. And we had Cole in here the week after he came in as an emergency long snapper, and he was just so thankful that he only had to do PAT and not punt because, as you know.
Well, that's what was crap, man. He won the special teams player of the week.
Yeah.
And they said as a long snapper. I'm like, no, he was just a short snapper. He had no punts. Yeah. I want to see it. He would have deserved it if he did like 3 field goals and like 4 punts. Yeah. And if he pulled it off like he did with his field goals, I would have said, okay, he deserves it. But I didn't think he deserved it just going in for 6 field goals, 5 PATs or whatever it was.
Yeah. Was that your Super Bowl though? When you're like, oh, emergency long snapper? Like, were you locking in on that like super close?
I did. Yeah. And I went on his podcast and I broke down all 6 snaps for him and coached him up. And what's amazing is Cole is sitting there like this, like, I'm like, Cole, you're never going to have to do this again, man. It's a once in a lifetime thing. Quit taking the coaching. But that just says a lot about Cole. Like, he's literally listening and like I'm breaking down like his release point and all that kind of stuff. I'm like, at the end, I'm like, Cole, good job. But like, there's no need for you to really break this stuff down. Stop taking notes.
Yeah. But at the end of the day, if it ever happens again, if lightning strikes twice,
right.
Even if it's
and
not
a lot of confidence too.
Yeah. And if it's not even if it's not your job, there's no more helpless feeling than botching a snap, right? Like, I don't think you never had one, right?
I had one. We remember the 49ers game with that wind where Robbie kicked the ball into the stands. We were wearing the orange jerseys.
What year was
the
this?
wind was like 40, 50 mile an hour. I had a PAT that unraveled and Brad Maynard couldn't catch it. So
that was the only one.
That's my one. Yeah. Nobody's perfect.
Yeah. But I'm sure like it's a horrible feeling.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's just that's the thing is though, Eddie. I enjoyed that process of trying to be perfect. And I had one bad one. No, I had 2 bad ones. I had a bad one, I think, my rookie rookie or second year at training camp, I sailed it over the punter's head, and that is a bad feeling where everybody's looking at you like, what the hell? And then I had one field goal snap I had bad in practice late in my career, and I'd gone a long time without screwing up, and that was the one everybody's like, what the? And I was just like, holy crap, that just happened. But yeah, it is a bad feeling. I've had him in practice, but only one in a game, thank God.
Yeah, that's good. And you could blame the wind, so it wasn't
100%. Never my fault. Never my fault.
Exactly. Like did you see the LSU game last week by chance?
I did not.
Oh my gosh, there was one where it just snapped. And I think it was more on the holder, just hit him right in the face mask, and it's shit like that. It's just it keeps.
Well, then yes, that's it's not like a play of 11 other guys out there. You're zoned in right on that ball, and you're the idiot.
Yep, exactly. Exactly. Yeah. So going back to your notes though, before shit hit the fan in Washington, what were your big takeaways? And I guess we could start it here. Why does this team start so slow?
Yeah, I don't know, man. It's interesting. It seems like everybody's not on the same page. Like looking back at the first 3 quarters of the game, it was like double teams were off, like in the run game. So a guy would come free and make the play. Caleb last week just looked off a little bit with his throws. He says he's never nervous, but he kind of looked a little nervous. There was a play where it was a zone coverage, and Rome kept kind of guiding through the zone coverage, and I think he was supposed to stop and got missed there, missed the throw there. So I think they're just off a little bit. And then I do think that Shane Waldron's to blame a little bit. I don't like him coming. To me, it doesn't seem like his game plan at the start makes Caleb comfortable. You know what I mean? Like he's throwing just all these different styles of plays out there to see what sticks, and then he's going to go from there. Where I'd rather see him come out with the heavy run formation, which they're good at now, get that thing going, and then just get some quick hitters to Caleb to get him going. Because I think he's kind of a streaky player, and he gets hot, he's hot, man. But I don't know. I don't know why they can't get it going. It just seems like every week it's different set of plays that are coming in that just is not their strength of what they're good at.
I think there's something to that. You just said it's good to be a coach that adapts, and I think he has adapted. Obviously, he can bounce back from that indie game pretty well, but it's also good to have an identity. And I don't know if this Bears offense has found an identity yet.
No, exactly. And the run game they do later in the game, and they found it last week with Swift going for whatever 100+ yards.
Yeah, and
they started running his plays that he's good with. But start with those, man. And then I also wonder, is it difficult with 3 playmakers, or really 4 with Cole, with 4 playmakers on the outside of like, who do you make comfortable? Who do you go to in the week and say, all right, this week it's going to be DJ. Hey, man, we're going to target you to start this game off. This week we're going to do Keenan. This week we're going to do Rome. And then who's going to be upset? I just think that's got to be hard when you have 3 really good targets, and then you also have Cole as well, to balance all that out. Who are you going to take care of? But I wish they would have – I'm guessing their egos – they all have egos, but would be small enough where they know it's going to be there. This week it might be DJ. This week it might be Keenan or whatever. So I think that's got to be difficult to try to make all those guys happy.
Yeah, I think it's a good blend with the 4 guys too, because obviously one's a rookie. Hey, like you don't know shit yet. You kind of
right, exactly.
One's a super veteran in Keenan Allen, and then one is obviously their star, and then Cole is just you know Cole. I know Cole. He's just a good guy, so I think he's just a team player who's going to do whatever's asked. So they do have a good balance when it comes to kind of slotting the egos, if you will.
Yeah. I think they do, and like because a couple weeks ago it was Keenan. It's been DJ.
Yep.
Cole had the run in London, so it seems pretty good. And you don't hear anybody bitch yet. I'm just saying that I just wish he would figure out something in the beginning of the game, because we have 10 points in 6 games, right?
Yeah,
or 7 games, whatever it is, 7 games, 10 points in the first quarter.
Yeah,
that's that's unacceptable.
Yeah, it's been really bad to start. And credit to the team. For credit to them though, they got it done there in the last, whatever it was, 6 minutes, and they found a way to win the game before, like I said, all hell broke loose. Yeah. But I want to go back to as well what you said about him looking nervous, because I agree. I thought he did look nervous too, and I thought he looked nervous a few times throughout the year. And even before he had that quote come out that he never gets nervous, I think I saw a clip of Cole on his show say as well, like in the huddle, they could tell he was a little nervous. Why? I wonder why. A guy, because Caleb's obviously a very comfortable dude. He knows who he is. I wonder why he has a hard time admitting that, right?
I think you want to play with the ultimate confidence.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? I don't know. Yeah, I think you just want to be the ultimate confident guy, but it's just natural to be nervous, right? I mean, that first game, he looked extremely jittery. I called it jittery. Like he was just, and then it seems like as the games have gone along, he slowed down a little bit, but he looked a little bit similar at the beginning of the game that he did the first game against the Titans. So I think that's just, ultimate confidence, right? You're going to be the alpha dog. I've got this. I'm going to portray that to everybody else. But at some point, man, you can't hide it. It's going to come out if you're nervous.
Yeah, and it's not like no one's going to begrudge him for being nervous. You're playing.
No, it's natural, man. It's natural.
Exactly. So that I do find that a little peculiar, I guess.
Yeah. I mean, I can see that. I mean, I get you.
Yeah, for sure. I don't know why, but it's not a huge deal. Offensive line woes, obviously.
Oh boy.
Yeah. When you're taking your notes, when you're watching, there's a lot of leaks.
Mm-hmm.
But what leak up there has kind of been the most detrimental?
Tevin Jenkins, to me, it looks, because I don't know the call, looks like he has some MAs, missed assignments. There was one where a guy came running scot-free on Caleb last week, and to me it looked like in protection-wise that was his guy. And it just seems to me that there's a few times that he's just missing his guy, like going to get the wrong call or whatever it is. And then the other one just I want when I was talking about the double teams and missing double teams, there's a few times when they get it, man, Pryor and Wright, they freaking maul people. But then there's times they come off at the wrong time. They don't mesh long enough up to the linebacker. So that's what I see. And then Coleman Shelton just can't go one-on-one with a heavy guy in front. That's another problem. There was a few times last week when they go to that five-man front, he just gets pushed back, and they're struggling with that. And the other one in pass protection, they're not very good at all at passing off games. Like, when the ETs, TEs, TTs, all that kind of stuff, they really struggle with that. They get on different levels. They get their shoulders turned. There's a lot of stuff going on, and yeah, that seems to, when they get going, they're fine, right? They got all that stuff like I just talked about. They're on the same page. But when the bad happens, that's what's going on.
Yeah, but is it more fundamentally, or are they just not as physical as they need to be?
It's physical and it's talent, man. You got to look at where they are. Like, who are they? Like, okay, Darnell Wright's a first rounder. He's playing pretty well. Pryor's a journeyman. Coleman's a journeyman. Tevin, you wish would play better, and I was hoping he would, just because the way he plays sometimes so physical and finishes blocks, but he seems like he's just too inconsistent. And then to me, Braxton Jones is just, he's a guy, right? He's like Charles Leno. Good career, solid left tackle, but not a guy that you can say, all right, we're just going to slide the line right and you've got the left end. So I think it's a little bit of talent. You just don't have those guys that you need. Some more Quentin Nelsons, guys like that, Trent Williams, somebody that's just a complete dog out there that you can trust them. And they don't have that. Darnell Wright, I think, is getting there. He's playing pretty well right now.
Yeah, it's a guy who you could eliminate someone off their defense, and it's like that guy's gone because so you're playing, you're facing 10 effectively at that point.
I got a funny story about that. Olin told me this, and they're playing in the Pro Bowl, and Walter Jones is the left tackle, and they're putting in protections for the Pro Bowl, and they're calling like slide left to Walter, and he turned. I think it was Alex Gibbs that was the O-line coach or whoever it was. He's like, Coach, no need to slide to me. I got my guy. You guys worry about you four over there to the right. And I'm like, that's a Hall of Famer, right? That's what I want on the Bears. Like, don't worry about me. I got my guy. You guys take care of the rest.
Yeah.
That's what we need. And hopefully Darnell Wright can become that.
Yeah, right. I mean, I don't need my chip. I'll go up to the second level and worry about that without chipping.
Yeah.
You're right. And going into the bye week, I actually had him as and it was splitting hairs, but I actually had him as a little bit of my most disappointing Bear, because I think all of last year he had 7 pre-snap penalties or 7 penalties.
Yeah.
And he gave up, I think, 7 sacks, and he had 4 and 4 go 5 games into the season. So
yeah.
And part of it's on me, expectations, right? He's a high pick, and
gotcha.
He's supposed to be the best one, so that's probably not fair. But
no, it is. I mean, those are stats, right? He's messing up, but what I'm seeing is progress.
Mm-hmm.
He's in the middle of his second year, so as long as you see progress, that's what's great. He's excellent in the run game. He's getting better in pass protection. He leans a little bit too far forward and gets beat that way, but he is showing progress, and I think for where he was drafted, I believe he's going to be a very solid pick.
Yeah, I think so too. And it just, like I said, amongst expectations, that's kind of where my frustration was.
Right.
But when I go back to fundamentals, I mean, Pat, some of these things, it's just like standard twists that you can pick up in a high school level, and they're like not even turning back to where the twists are happening. I don't understand it. Is that like a coaching problem or what?
It's a coach or player. I know the Coach Morgan's a good coach. You know he's coaching it up.
Yeah.
But there's times like if you got a guy coming this way, they turn too far this way instead of staying lateral.
Mm-hmm.
And then if it's lateral and you trade it off, you can come back. But they get their shoulders turned back into the backfield, and when you come back, the guy's already got your shoulder. So it's fundamentals, and I guarantee you the coach is coaching them up, but they're just not getting it done. So it's a player problem, in my opinion. And it's the same guys who are doing it all the time. Tevin does it all the time, and Pryor does it all the time.
Yeah, because it's like typically always up the middle.
Yeah, that's where it is. And then Shelton will start chasing the guy, and you can't do that as a center too. You got to set back a little bit. You got to stay extremely square for all that mess coming back in, unless you have a full turn protection where you're sliding out to the will linebacker, nickel will or whatever. But most of the time he gets his shoulders turned. He chases too much because he wants to go hit somebody as well. He's a little aggressive, which is great, but you can't do that if there's going to be if you know the team is going to have a lot of TTs and TEs and all that movement in there.
And it's also, I kind of think, where Caleb, it's such an uncertain pocket, right? Because the tackles, obviously, you could run them out. But then if you're giving up penetration up the middle, there's nowhere to step into. And if there is, or if it's the opposite, you never really know which way the pocket's going to go. So that's got to kind of be throwing them off a little bit too.
I agreed. And I think something in the future they need to worry about is with his height as well, is make sure you solidify the middle. Like Drew Brees was a shorter guy, right? So they took care of him in the middle. They had two badass guards and a damn good center that he could always step up if the tackles were getting run around on the side. And I think if I'm Ryan Poles, that's what I'm looking to really invest in with this offensive line for him, to make sure he feels protected, because when he gets that pressure in his face, you can see it. You can see that he can't see. Mm-hmm. And then there's sometimes he makes those incredible throws like he did to DeAndre Carter right before they scored that last touchdown. But I think that's what they need more is a solid line up in front for him, just to make him feel more comfortable.
So you'd invest in a top-of-the-line center next year?
Center, number one center. That's how I'm going with the center and another guard, yeah.
Would you address that through free agency or the draft?
Depends what's out there. I'm not in the draft stuff yet, but I don't know. There's a lot of good young rookie centers right now that are playing in the league, so maybe you do that with a second-round pick or something. But it's whatever the best thing is out there to get at least two more extremely solid guys in there. They've got everything else taken care of on that offense. You just obviously you need to take care of that O-line, but draft or free agency, whatever you can get.
Yeah, and you obviously you go two of them, right? Center and a guard.
Yes. Of course.
Do you like them to kind of make a move here through a trade, or do you think
no?
It's a little
because
premature?
I don't think you can get an O-lineman. Nobody's going to give up an O-lineman right now because they're so hard to get, right? So nobody's trading an O-lineman. If you got an O-lineman right now, you're keeping them. Maybe in free agency you're going to have to get rid of them because you can't pay them. But if you make a trade right now, I think it would be if they did it like a Montez Sweat, right? If they signed and then traded and signed them, then you're taking away cap money to get those O-linemen in the future. Mm-hmm. So I think right now they're still a year away. I think we got excited with them before the Commanders game, and I think they're good right now. We'll see what they can do, and then next year my expectations are going to go through the roof if they can find the right pieces on offense on the offensive line.
Yeah, so just kind of stand pat.
Yeah.
Defensively,
I mean, they're not going to win the Super Bowl this year.
No, I mean, it's
like if you know what I mean. So that's my opinion. I think you can build it. You can make this team exponentially better if you wait for next year and get the right guys in there.
Yeah, I guess the more so people are worried about the development. You don't want to put this guy in a bad spot where he, gets bad tendencies or learns bad habits. Because
right.
He's always on the run. Right. But I think the line has shown that they can be passable against not so good teams, but it's the good teams where they kind of get eaten alive, which is very scary coming into the last 8 games of the season because, as everyone knows, our schedule is just a gauntlet towards the end.
Oh, it's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
It's going to be a good one. Yeah, and I am worried about the O-line. That's the biggest thing I'm worried about.
Yeah, I agree. And I think most people share that sentiment. Is there – who would you say – another back-in-the-day question – because you were, I'm pretty sure I've heard this, and I think you've talked about it. You would always go to like the O-line meetings because you like to learn and like kind of be within the team. Yeah. Who's like a guy that you kind of learn from the most? Like who was the most savvy offensive lineman you've been able to kind of learn from?
I think the biggest one was Olin, and it was more of like how to study film. how to study tendencies. Like for me, just for punts, like I had to block somebody, right? So he would always talk about when he's in meetings, like look at the guy's weight on his hands. Is he leaning a little left? Is he a little light? Look at the linebacker. I never really looked at film that way. I always looked at it like, oh, where's the guy lined up? Who do I have to block? X's and O's stuff. But from him, he taught all of us in there how to follow, like how to really understand what's going to happen in the play after the snap, right? So they're lined up this way, but who's maybe shifted over a little bit, which linebacker is, which lineman is maybe leaning a little bit, which three technique is maybe a little tighter because it might be a TT or an ET if a guy's a little wide or tilted. To look out at the nickelback on the slot, right? So if he's kind of just staring at the guy straight ahead, he could be coming. The guy normally looking in and out is not coming. So he just did a great job of teaching you how to watch tape and learn blitzes, tendencies, stuff like that. But he was a master, obviously a great player, but a master at his craft, and I think made all of us better and made me even a better long snapper, just learning how to watch people and see their body and how, the tendencies they give up.
That's interesting because that probably played into his career way more than anybody knows.
Yes.
Right? Because people think of him as such a badass, just like a no-nonsense guy. It's like, well, actually, he prepped a lot.
Right. And I'd be like, how'd you know that? There's a great story. We're playing the Buccaneers. John Lynch, straight Tampa 2. The safeties were always lined up the same way all the time. Well, John Lynch was walked up somewhere he's never been. And Olin changes the call, pops out and blocks him. And he's like, how the hell did you know I was coming? He's like, you've never lined up there. And he's like, but Monty Kiffin guaranteed me a sack. And he's like, but you've never lined up there. And he went out, popped out and blocked him. And that's just stuff like telling you about Olin, like just knowing tape of like, that's not right. This is something different. I got to go take care of this guy. That to me, that's amazing. Like, and then, Olin beat Monty Kiffin. That's basically what he did.
That's a cool story.
It's unbelievable. John Lynch going, how the hell did you know I was supposed to have a sack on this play?
It's going to be a guarantee.
Yeah, guaranteed sack.
Yeah, or it was going to be a sitting duck.
Yeah, exactly.
I want to take another break because I want to talk about a big deal. I want to talk about something you can have the opportunity to go to, and that is the Bears game when they play Green Bay. Okay, so listen, Bears fans, your local Chevy dealers want to send you to see the Bears play Green Bay on November 17th. Entering is easy. Head to ChevyDriveChicago.com for your chance to win. That's right. You can go see the Bears play Green Bay on November 17th. I know you want to go. It's going to be a monster game. First time Caleb Williams plays them, and you have your chance. So go over there, ChevyDriveChicago.com. While you're there, check out the latest Chevy lineup in the Silverado. It's perfect for any tailgate. Your local Chevy dealers are the official truck partner of the Chicago Bears. Head to ChevyDriveChicago.com today to enter. And yeah, I just really don't see why you wouldn't. And while you're there, honestly, the look of those new Silverados are so sharp. I like the white one. The tailgate just has a beautiful Chevrolet, just spelled out there in black. It's real sharp looking. I love that Silverado, the way that the whites of the Silverado look. So go check that out and try to win tickets to the game. All right, let's get back into it. Another thing I want to ask you about, just as far as offensive line goes, there's a theory I saw. I forget where I saw it at, where a lot of teams are struggling in protection right now because these DNs, these defensive fronts, are just freaks of nature now, right? Like they're just handcrafted, genetic monsters. Mm-hmm. And it feels like offensive lines haven't really adapted to that kind of style of play. Do you buy into any of that, or what are your thoughts on it?
I do. I think there's more Julius Peppers out there, right? Mm-hmm. Like when Julius came in, he was a different animal. 6'7", 290 pounds to run. It was unbelievable. Now it seems like every team has one. We have one in Montez Sweat. If you see those two guys stand next to each other, they're pretty similar physically, and every team has that. And before they didn't. They would maybe have a guy big, but not that athletic. And it just seems to me that a lot of teams have that now. But my biggest issue is the NFLPA, they changed the rules, right? You can only wear pads so much. They don't go 2-a-days. And it's not the old guy complaining about that they got it easier now. It's just more that the O-line can't work on their craft. You can only do so much in a helmet and walk through, and you're not punching a guy that's not wearing pads, right? You're walking through and just kind of hitting them a little bit. Mm-hmm. But now that they're not wearing pads and fully going one-on-one pass block, once or twice a day during training camp and then maybe 2 or 3 times a week during the season, it's hard to master that. I mean, you're going out there just kind of, it's like you're green again. Like, oh my God, all right, I haven't hit anybody all week, and now I got to go against this 6'8" monster over there. So I think that's part of it too.
Yeah, that's a tough look to simulate without live
Yes.
action.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
It's a very tough look
Yeah.
to simulate.
Yeah.
Defensively, obviously, you've played with some great defenses. I think we had a really damn good one in 2018 as well.
Mm-hmm.
Is this one getting there to you, or you still kind of need to see a little more?
You always want to see more, but what I loved was the takeaways. Obviously playing with Lovie, that's what you're preached for, that similar style of defense, and they were doing that. They didn't have any last week, and they lost. But to me, they only gave up 12 points. So that last Hail Mary kind of sucks. But they played unbelievable last week against, the number 2 offense in the league. So they're very solid. I don't think they're Ravens-esque like in 01 or, some of these teams that are just you're going to win the game because of, but they're going to help you win the game. But they're getting closer. It's just unfortunate. Hopefully Sweat's okay. Hopefully he can play because he does make a difference in pass protection for the other teams, and that's why it frees up some other guys. And then the DBs as well, if they can get healthy. Hopefully Brisker's all right with the concussions, and we need Kyler Gordon back. But they're, they talked about they want to be a top 7, top 5 defense.
Mm-hmm.
I've got them there right now. Just the way they haven't they have not given up 21 points in 11 games, 10 games, or whatever it is, going back to last year. And if you can do that, you're going to win a lot of games. So I don't think they're that unbelievable defense, but they're pretty damn good, man.
Yeah, they are. I think last I looked before, they were like the number 4th in points given up. So they're there for sure. It's just it does feel like you're waiting for that big dominating game, and they had it there. But I thought the Commanders shot themselves in the foot a lot. They had a lot of They had a lot of big drops, a lot of pre-snap penalties, a lot of just mental errors. So if that doesn't happen, I really wonder how that game pans out as well.
100%. That's one thing in my notes I had too. They had a touchdown called back, right? I think it was a illegal man downfield.
Yep.
Which was it was close. So yeah, there was a few times on second down they had a couple false starts, put them back in the red zone, so they kicked field goals. You're right. They hurt themselves as well, but again, a good defense does that to an offense. So you got to look at it both ways. And then one more thing is talking about this defense. As much as you want to talk about Flus as the head coach, you got to give him credit. Dialing up the game plan, dialing up the blitzes when he does a hell of a job with those guys. And TJ Edwards, he always knows when to bring them, right? Seems like he's always free one time or gets somebody open. So Flus does a good job with that defense.
Yeah, he does. Overall, though, are you still in on him, or you think it's
changing?
Yeah.
It's changing. I thought, I thought he would improve in game situations, and he's not. And then the one thing, not defending the sideline right, not calling the timeout for the final Hail Mary. Listen, he's been a defensive coordinator in this league for years. You don't need to know that as a head coach. You should know that as a defensive coordinator, right? So that's something he botched completely, just on the coaching standpoint. And then the other thing is, I do not like that he has not stood up and said, "Listen, I made a mistake. I should have called timeout. I should have pulled those guys up." When you have 4 of your 8 captains coming out, calling out play calling and situational stuff, and you can't stand in front of the media and say, "Hey, I screwed up," you lose a little bit of credibility with your team. You really do. And I would, if I was in that room, I'd be like, "Coach, come on, man, you screwed up. You yell at us for screwing up. We own up when we screw up." Like Doug Kramer, he said, "I fumbled the ball right on the goal line play."
Yeah.
Well, Caleb also had a pretty high, like his handoff was high. Like the Anarlovsky showed it, had it slowed down. They're like, it needs to be down to the belly more. But Kramer comes up like, that was on me. But no, it was kind of on Caleb too. But I'm saying that because coaches need to say, "Hey, I screwed up." And you get a lot of credit when you do. When we go into meetings on Monday mornings and there would be a situational thing or a bad call, whether it's OC or because I always went to office meetings with the OC or Lovie saying, "Hey, I can do better here. I messed up." We'd all be like, "All right, coach, you owned it. Right, cool. Let's go. Let's move forward." And I'm just shocked he didn't do it.
And you don't got to say who, but I assume you've been in a locker room where coaches haven't taken responsibility. And was that?
No, yeah, there would be times it'd be like an iffy call, but these are like blatant, man. These are obvious.
Yeah.
Everybody across the nation's talking about mistakes, and that's when you're like, come on.
Yeah.
So yeah, there's been times coaches haven't owned up to it, and you knew it, but it would be a little more iffy stuff compared to this, with just two blatant, misses.
Yeah. Any other like burning Bears thoughts? Then I have another question for you off topic to close it out.
No, I'm just a little nervous about this week and the guys. I'm not saying running their mouth, but talking the way they did, man. And In 2013, when I was with Tressman, the year before the house burned down, you could see the fire starting. Like, it was just a little different. We didn't publicly go out and say it, but we talked to each other and like, what's going on? That's not right. This practice was terrible. This is going on. What's going on? It sounds like that's happening a little bit. Maybe they can rally around each other and it's different. Maybe guys are different now. I'm just shocked they came out and spoke the way they did. So that's something I think everybody's keeping their eye on to see what happens. But that's probably my biggest burning thing. But again, you can go to Arizona, win the game, and we're going to forget about last week, right?
What was it specifically that you heard that you were surprised by? Because I might have missed something.
Just Jalen talking about practice. Like, we're not doing stuff at practice. We're not. So like when Tressman was there, we would have a practice and have a bad play, and we'd move on to the next play. And I'd be like, wait, you're supposed to redo the play so you make sure you get it right. And he'd always be like, oh, we'll correct it in the meetings. We'll correct it in the meetings. I'm like, you can't correct it in the meetings. You're on the practice field for a reason. Run the play.
Yeah.
But Jalen Johnson saying we're doing the same thing that happened to us with Tressman. They're not correcting the play, not doing it right during practice. And for him to publicly come out and say that, that's damning on the coach, man. That's, the coaches. That means the coaches aren't. That standard of coaching is now here, right? Where you always want to keep it here, and that's what happened to me. I felt like with Tressman, we would have a bad practice, and I played a long time, saw a lot of practices. And I'd be like, that was a shitty practice. And he'd call us up like, great practice, guys, great practice. I'm like, what are you talking about? We screwed up like 6 plays in 7-on-7 team. We're not picking up blitzes. Blitz period was terrible. But that never was publicly said. So what I'm saying now is because Jalen came out and said, hey, man, we're not practicing well enough. We're not coaching well enough. I was like, oh, okay. Interesting. So we'll see.
Yeah, what? I don't understand that at all.
No, it's a standard that coaches let slip, and you can't do that. I don't know why they do that, but that's when you become a bad team. That's allowed to happen.
I wonder if things have changed, because I did hear from someone within the building that Nagy was the same way. He just kind of let it go and just not worry about it. And then I did hear when Flus came in, he was a big like, no, stop it here. We're redoing this. I wonder if something's changed within his philosophy, or I don't know.
I hope.
That's interesting.
I hope.
Yeah.
I mean, there were times, I'll give you this. So like, you have different like a 10-minute segment for blitz or 12 plays for blitz or whatever it is. On special teams, I think we always had a 15-minute period. Mm-hmm. And Tobe's standard of coaching was super high.
Yeah.
There were numerous times he'd turn to Lovie and be like, I need 4 more minutes. And he'd be like, all right, but because he wanted to stay on schedule. And he's like, no, I got to get this right. And obviously, that was the thing, man. You had to get everything right before he would move on to going back to offensive period and defensive period. And Lovie would let him do it. He'd be like, all right, well, hurry it up, get it right. And it's that to me is what needs to happen. Maybe that's not happening right now, but that's just an example of a coach having a standard. And if we're fucking it up, he's like, no, we're running again. We got to get this shit right. We're not giving up a block punt. We're, all that kind of stuff. So, and that would be him yelling at Lovie, I need 5 more minutes. I need 2 more minutes, whatever it is.
And it showed with how good our special teams were during
during
that era.
Yeah.
God, that's alarming. If Flus isn't doing that anymore, if he changed in a worse way, I don't understand that at all. So that's weird.
Right. Yeah.
Completely off topic, but my last question, then I'll let you go. I've gotten really into golf this summer. What's your give me a top 5 as best as you can Chicagoland courses?
Ooh, well, I gotta say Beverly, my home course.
Okay.
I think I'm repping the hat right now. I love Butler National.
Okay.
Love it. It's so hard. You could walk on there, I guess not now with the weather, but like in the summer, and the next day they could host a PGA event. So when all the guys come in town, like I guess Justin Thomas, Colin Moore, they all go there. So if they're in Chicago, like or coming through Chicago to go play like in Milwaukee or out there west in Des Moines, they go to Butler. Love Butler. Shore Acres is a blast up there in Lake Bluff. That's a good question. Oh, Chicago golf, excellent. Possible to get on. Luckily, got a friend, played it a few times. Very, very good.
That's
and then,
4.
I know it's 4. Let me give you 5. Why am I drawing a blank? Where else would I want to go play?
Old Elm?
Yeah, I like Old Elm, but it's not like my favorite to play. You know what I mean? It's really cool. It's good. Yeah. It's like, I'm trying to think of like what I would want to go play.
Lakeshore. I got to play that. That was really nice to see.
That's a good one. That's a good one. Where else have you played?
So this this summer I was fortunate through a bunch of different people to play. Some of the good ones, I guess, was Old Elm, Anwencia,
That's good.
yeah, Lakeshore, Flossmoor, and that's probably I guess the bigger ones.
Have you done Olympia?
No, I have not.
Yeah, I put Olympia up there. I enjoy going there. That's a cool place. Just everything about it. It's just both courses are excellent, but then the clubhouse, the whole vibe, and all that kind of is pretty cool. So I put Olympia as number 5.
Yeah, that's like my biggest thing is I just love to see the clubhouses.
Yes, and just the old history too, man. That's 1900, 1905, or whatever. And you walk around, you see the old pictures of Jack Nicklaus or Arnold Palmer and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of cool.
Yeah, like the Old Elm locker room, blew me away.
Yeah.
It just blew me away.
Yeah, the fact they keep alcohol in their locker because they don't have a liquor license. Did you know that?
No, I didn't know that.
Yeah. So we're playing there one time, and a buddy's like, "Hey, what do you want to drink?" And the other guy I'm playing with, he goes, "I want a lemonade." I'm like, "Come on, man, I want like a cocktail or something." And he goes, "No, what mixer do you want with your vodka?" Because the guy had vodka in his locker. I'm like, "Oh, I'll take a vodka lemonade. Cool, sounds good." And I'd never heard of that before, but everybody keeps their liquor in their own locker. I don't know if I got him in trouble, but maybe I'm banned from Old Elm, but that's the way it works. It's pretty sweet.
And then the just the view from the little patio there at Lakeshore. Lakeshore blew me away.
It's cool. Yeah, very good. Very good.
Yeah, and then my number 1 on my list to try next summer is Bobo. I heard just great things. So.
Oh, that's cool. Very good vibe. Great course, but a good vibe, man. It's one of those. It's that'd be like my next 5. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. Yeah.
All right, there you have it.
You'll have a lot of fun there. I'll put it that way. Heavy pours, very heavy pours.
That's why I care more about fun than hitting a straight shot. So.
Exactly.
That's me. Yeah. All right, then, Pat. You're the man. Appreciate you jumping on and being so gracious with your time. Is there anything you want to let people know that you're doing or anything like that?
No, just go drink that Long Snapper IPA, man.
There you go.
That's it.
All right, Pat. Thank you.
All right. We'll see you, man.
All right,
have a good one.
Go Bears.